Welcome to the first episode of the No Bullshit Python Guide series. In this series, I will teach you the fundamentals of Python so you can get started in a quick and efficient manner. So the first thing we need to talk about is what do you actually need to get started coding in Python? You need the programming language that is Python. You need an IDE. This is an integrated development environment. This is where we actually write our code. And then you need to set up a Python environment. For beginners looking to get started coding in Python, I always recommend downloading Anaconda. Now, Anaconda is a distribution of Python that comes with several other nice benefits, such as a base environment with a lot of pre-installed libraries. It also comes with a lot of different options for IDEs, meaning programs where you write your code, and it comes with a nice user interface, so it's very easy to see what's going on and how to set up your environment. So let's go ahead and download that. So you just go into Google, just type Anaconda, and you just press on free download on the download button, and then it should start downloading. I've already done that, so we'll pause that and open an older one. And then you should get this installer popping up. You just click next. I agree. You can highlight the just me. Now I already have it installed, so I will just go into my test, this one. And then once you get to this, you can decide what you want to do. I would recommend checking on this. I would not register Anaconda 3 as my default Python environment because you may want to move into VS Code or PyCharm, and that would just be annoying to have this on. So and we just click install. So once it's finished installing, then you can open a program called Anaconda Navigator. So you just search for that. You go ahead and open it, and you should see something like this. So what we can see is that right now I am showing all applications on base. We can see a lot of different programs. Some of them haven't been installed yet, and some of them I can already launch. Before launching anything, I just want to explain to you what this base means. This is a Python environment. So now I can click on environments on the left pane, and you can see that I have set up some different environments. What is a Python environment? To put it simply, it is sort of a virtual workspace that allows us to execute our code. Also, it allows us to install and leverage external libraries. And these libraries, they allow us to use pre-built functions so we don't have to invent the wheel every time we want to write some code. So if you look into your base environment that you have, you can see that there are some pre-installed libraries already there. And we could go ahead and use this environment, but it's a good exercise to create a new one using Anaconda prompt. So go ahead and open that. What you're seeing here is that I am currently in base environment. That's the one that's active. And you can also see the directory I'm in. So in order to create a new environment, we can use conda commands. So we can write conda create -- name to specify what name we want, and then another space, and we can call it Python guide. So this should create a new environment, and it will ask us if we want to proceed, and we just write Y, and now that created the environment. But we also need to activate it. As you can see, I'm still within base, so I write conda activate Python guide. And you can see that we changed from base to Python guide. In this, Anaconda prompt is also where I would install different libraries for my environment. So I could write conda install numpy, for instance, or any other library that I want. For now, let's just leave it at that. We created a new one. And let's see if it is now in our Anaconda Navigator in environments. We can see that it is right there, Python guide. Now we go into home. From here, you should be able to select your new Python environment from the drop-down menu. So instead of being in base, we're now activating Python guide. So we are actually ready to download our preferred IDE. And you heard me mention IDE before. This is where we write our code, the program that we want to write and execute our code within. Some very common options are PyCharm and VS Code. I think for beginners, Spyder is a very good option. So go ahead and click install on Spyder. Once it's finished installing Spyder in our newly created Python environment, we can go ahead and click launch. This will open up Spyder that looks like this. Once we're inside Spyder, we're actually ready to write some code. Now, before we do that, I'll just briefly explain what each of these panes show us and what they do. So over here, we have our main scripting window. This is where we write our code and execute it. And we can execute it line by line. We can segment it into cells. Whatever outputs we get from this, we can see down here in the console pane. Up here, what you see are some different tabs. And I think one of the most useful ones, especially for beginners, is the variable explorer. This will show me all the variables that I have made in my script. I can also see plots and additional files. We can now write our first Python program that will demonstrate how each of these windows work. First, let's create a variable. I will make a variable called test. I will make it equal to 1. I'm assigning this integer to this variable here. And if I click run, you can now see over in the variable explorer that we have a new variable called test. It is of type integer, size 1, and its value is 1. The next thing I can then do is to print it. So we can write print and then use parentheses. And inside the parentheses, we will type test. So now I will print the value of test. Let's see what happens when I run. And you can see down here in the console, we now have 1 being printed. All right, that was all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. In the next one, we will talk about variables and data types. So stay tuned for that one.